guys, welcome to Drum Talk. Today I'm going to work on a new series, and this series is going to be about basic jazz drumming. Now, everybody, all my new friends on YouTube think I'm a jazz drummer. So, because I'm a jazz drummer, I'm going to give a jazz drumming lesson. Now, we're going to start with basics because I'm going to take the mystery out of the jazz thing. Okay, first off, jazz is based on triplets. Okay, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. The difference between jazz and rock is the ride cymbal and the hi-hat. Those two together is where the time is kept. Where in rock music it's kept on the kick and the snare. So rock music, it's all about matter of fact, my first real recording session, I'm not going to say it's my first recording session, but my first real recording session, I was in Nashville, and the producer, actually the engineer, came up to me and said, "You're playing the rock music too," he was just like, "You're playing the right hand too loud." I was playing all my rock music that sounded like a young kid playing it. And the way I was playing was like this. He said, "I don't want that loud right hand. Play your right hand softer and play your right foot and your left hand as hard as you possibly can play, because I want to set gates and reverb and all that stuff going onto the tape. It's back in the days of no plugins. This is they're recording it to tape. I don't want the bleed of that hi-hat. I want that really quiet, and I want your feet and your hands to be really loud." And this is where I started working on something that's called dynamics. And in jazz playing, dynamics are different than in rock playing, but dynamics is something you got to work on. One of my new favorite drummers out here on YouTube is a guy named Steve Delamar, and he was talking about dynamics in a video and the importance of dynamics. And I can't overstate the importance of dynamics when it comes to playing rock music or jazz music. But with rock music, your time is kept with your kick and your snare. With jazz music, your time is kept on the ride cymbal with the hi-hat, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So let me go back to the rock example. Alright? So here's how he wanted me to play it in Nashville. He wanted me to play it. Kick and snare loud, with power, with authority, in the pocket, with the click. Hi-hat, not so much. Keep it down. That's why a lot of times you see studio drummers have their cymbals up really high, because they wanted, when you hit crash cymbals, it not to be down by the low mics, so you kept them out of the microphones. Okay? So, I started working on dynamics between my limbs, and again, a lot of guys look at my jazz stuff and they say to me, "I love your touch." Well, my touch comes from the fact I'm working on limb dynamics. I want to be able to play my left hand loud, my right foot soft, my right hand soft, and then I want to flip it around. I want to play this loud and these soft. And jazz music, that's what it's about. Because in jazz music, this sounds really square if you do this. Now, I may want you to play that on the kit to play jazz, okay? But I don't want you to play that on the bass drum and the snare drum. What I want the bass drum and the snare drum to sound like is this. Because jazz music, the ride cymbal drives the song. Okay? And the kick and the snare are supposed to be feathered and played lightly. Only used to respond to the comping going on in the piano or the guitar player or the bass player laying down the bass part. and throwing in an accent. So jazz music, to play jazz properly, is all about and when I'm playing the ride cymbal pattern, the bings, the spangalang, I'm thinking about triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And the basic jazz ride beat is basically going to the 2 and the 4 on the hi-hat. Now, as you become more of a jazz player and you start breaking things up, that's the guys that are really experienced. Those guys start to do a little less of the hi-hat, a little less of the spangalang, and actually, the real hip jazz guys play quarter notes all the time. So when you're playing a quarter note, you're thinking 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And you can feather the bass drum, and this is of course not a jazz bass drum, by the way. My little jazz kit's over there. I'm not sitting at the jazz kit to teach the jazz lesson. I'm sitting at the rock kit because I had it all lighted for the rock kit. I just didn't ask Earl anything, okay? But you get the idea. You feather the bass drum. This bass drum's got a pillow in it, a huge pillow in it, so it sounds like a pillow bass drum. A jazz bass drum should have almost nothing in it, and it should go boo, boo. So when you're hitting that jazz bass drum, you're getting that boo sound. So, if you're going to practice this pattern, you want to be thinking of triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3. So the basic jazz pattern is all about triplets on the ride cymbal. It's thinking triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Even when you're playing quarter notes. And to start out, you accent the 2 and the 4, because that 2 and the 4 is all part of what we understand music to be. In rock music, we understand the 2 and the 4. So I punch the 2 and the 4 on the hi-hat. So the first lesson of playing jazz, and the way I would work on it, is find a song. Pick a song, put the song on your device, and just play along to it. Pick a song like Fly Me and just feather the bass drum, play your ride cymbal with authority, lock in with what's going on that track, and just play along. And that's where you start. If you want to get into playing jazz, you start by putting a jazz song on and just playing that ride cymbal. But the key is the dynamics between your hands and your feet. Your left hand and your right foot should be very, very light, and your hi-hat and your ride cymbal should be hard. That should be your loudest limbs. Next time we do this, we'll talk about how to start developing a little independence. Okay? So anyhow, that's my first jazz lesson, basic ride pattern, and I hope you guys got something out of it. and I'll talk to you next time.